Welcome back to the Philosophy for Philistines channel. It is only fitting that I record today's vlog with the backdrop of the absurdity of the orange and pink spotted cow, which is a metaphor for how my wife feels about how her children treat her. And today's meditation is a metaphor on how I feel about the postmodern musician abandoning their proper role. Day 35. Art cannot express corruption and nihilism without corrupt and nihilistic artists. How postmodern artists have abandoned their traditional role of exposing state attacks on civil liberties. Never have I seen such a mess in life. The air is pure, but wearing a mask is mandatory. Roads are empty, but it is impossible to go on a long drive. People have clean hands, but there is a ban on shaking hands. Friends have time to sit together, but they cannot get together. The cook inside you is crazy, but you cannot call anyone for lunch or dinner. Every Monday the heart longs to go out, but the weekend does not seem to end. Those who have money have no way to spend it. Those who don't have money have no way to earn it. There is enough time on hand, but you cannot fulfill your dreams. The culprit is all around, but cannot be seen. A world full of irony. Be positive, but test negative. Author Veena, Gaur. Long ago, I realized a fundamental principle which applies to illiberal, authoritarian governments, that they are hell-bent on dividing humanity based upon immutable traits while silencing the very thing which makes us all unique, namely our persona and our opinions. Each time these governments single-handedly create a social problem, they will then emerge as the only source of solutions to the very problems that would not exist if they had not created them. This sleight of hand has but one goal: to render the citizen powerless and by default the state all powerful. No such governing authority could exist without the cooperation of its citizenry. Resist the lie that some all-knowing, all-beneficent authority knows how to live your life better than you do. It is a lie which none of us ought to participate in. But wait a tick. Not long ago, as someone who grew up at the northern terminus of the Underground Railroad and became a teen in the 1960s, my generation had musical artists whose entire juju was to express the fight for civil liberties in song. I will read the following article from the Library of Congress's collection, Civil Rights History Project, Music in the Civil Rights Movement. African-American spirituals, gospel, and folk music all played an important role in the civil rights movement. Singers and musicians collaborated with ethnomusicologists and song collectors to disseminate songs to activists, both at large meetings and through publications. They sang these songs for multiple purposes: to motivate them through long marches, for psychological strength against harassment and brutality, and sometimes to simply pass the time when waiting for something to happen. In their interview with the Civil Rights History Project, folk singers Guy and Candy Carawan sing the songs Tree of Life, Eyes on the Prize, and We Shall Overcome. The Carawans worked at the Highlander Folk School in Tennessee, where activists from around the country came to be trained in nonviolent philosophy and learn the songs of the movement. She explains, there were songs for every mood. You know, there were the very jubilant songs. There were the very sad songs when someone was killed. You know, there were songs used at parties. There was all the humor when you picked fun at people, the satire. Activist and folk singer Pete Seeger also remembers how important music was to the civil rights movement in his interview. He performed many concerts to raise money for civil rights organizations and helped spread the song We Shall Overcome to civil rights workers at the Highlander Folk School. In 1964, he came to Jackson, Mississippi to support the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee's Mississippi Freedom Summer Project. While he was there, 3 civil rights workers, Andrew Goodman, Michael Schwerner, and James Chaney, went missing. He remembers, I was singing to about 200 people in a church when they gave me a piece of paper that said, they found the bodies of Goodman, Schwerner, and Chaney, and I made this announcement. There was no shouting, there was no anger. I saw lips moving in prayer. And I think I sang the song that Fred Hellerman made up, O healing river, send down your waters. Send down your waters upon this land. It is a beautiful song. Jamila Jones grew up in Alabama and sang professionally as a teenager with the Montgomery Gospel Trio and the Harambee Singers. In 1958, she came to the Highlander Folk School for nonviolent activist training. As Joan recalls in her interview, Highlander was raided by the police who shut off all the lights in the building. She found the strength to sing out in the darkness, adding a new verse, We are not afraid, to the song, We Shall Overcome. Jones explains, and we got louder and louder with singing that verse until one of the policemen came and he said to me, if you have to sing, and he was actually shaking, do you have to sing so loud? And I could not believe it. And here these people had all the guns, the billy clubs, the power, we thought. And he was asking me with a shake if I would not sing so loud. And it was at that time that I understood, really understood, the power of music. The obvious question a thinking person must ask is, how did we get from that to the artists of today who sing for the man? I have previously mentioned that I have a hide like a rhino, which is partly due to stubbornness, I suppose. But as much as I am stubborn, I am also filled with contempt for the hypocrisy of faux virtue signaling. It appears to me that the results of the hard left achieving so many of their political goals is that they must keep insisting that said goals remain unfulfilled while dividing mankind by race, creed, color, sex, and sexual proclivities all over again. Which begs the question, was social justice ever their desired outcome? Or were they simply intent on using equality as an excuse to garner power by reducing all of mankind's ills to a power struggle? Now that they are on top politically, the next logical step is for them to assume absolute power by removing the very civil liberties they once fought for. I find it incredible that so many of my musical chums fail to see the irony in this. Most will no longer speak with me, since I have not changed my opinions just to suit their perverse version of social justice theory. We are born free. Any authority which seeks to extend its over-vaunting reach into every cloying aspect of our private life is no friend to civil liberties and the civil rights which are our inherent birthright. When artists are no longer able to see this, then the art they create will no longer serve the proper function of art namely, to warn about the arbitrary and irrational authority of an elite who were subtle enough to pervert social justice theory to become the very thing artists once protested against. This is the ultimate hypocrisy of an art world filled with irony. I hope you think about that. And you people out there, you know to whom I am speaking. Have a great day.